What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, just another PokeTuber, coach of your Piedmont Triad Kickers, coming at you today with our Season 7 BHDL Draft Analysis. This is, as far as we know it, going to be the last BHDL season on Scarlet and Violet, but we're looking forward to having some seasons on Champions once Champions finally comes out, which I think is the general consensus that people think it'll just, it'll be sometime soon, sometime in the next few months. And considering that BHDL is not going to end until like March, I think, that should give us, plenty of time, especially considering we do typically have a couple of months in between seasons. BHDL kind of like last season, we get points to draft Pokemon. Now, last season we got 105 points, but this season we were given 115 points to draft 10 to 11 Pokemon to fill out our team. We have 30 points to draft 1 to 3 Tera Captains, and we're using the Tera preview system this season. So last season we had the 3 Tera Crystals. This season we have Tera preview. So, just announce your Tera before the game, and then boom, you're good to go. And please don't forget to do that, because if you forget to do that, well, if you tear your mind, that's a forfeit loss. So yeah, don't forget, guys. Don't forget. There's going to be 9 weeks of the regular season before playoffs, which is going to be quarters, semis, finals. So expect to see us for the next 12 weeks. Well, probably a little longer than that because Christmas is coming up and stuff. So hey, upload is not required. But since we're posting this, obviously we're going to be uploading our stuff, right? So in regards to the draft order, your boy got a rather. I hated the spot, man. I got spot 4. 4, I actually prefer being like towards the bottom. I've never really been like this high at the top, except for like maybe once. I can't remember. But well, not in this league at least. But yeah, I really don't like being towards the top. I actually prefer the bottom because it's a lot easier to make my picks because it's like kind of like just rapid fire. I mean, granted, the same could be said from the top, but I kind of like the bottom better because when you're at the top, that means early draft, you're like getting screwed over pretty much because like for me, for example, before the draft got back to me, 24 Pokemon got picked. So it was like, yeah. And it also didn't help that the first round draft pick that I wanted, which was Meowscarada, got sniped literally before it even got to me. And I'm sitting here like, bro, me and a friend wanted to trade mascots. We couldn't even do that. I really thought the Mond would make it to me considering all the things that are allowed because, guys, like we have Zamazenta Crown allowed, Spectrier, Iron Valiant, Dragapult. So I'm sitting here like, Meowscarada can certainly make it to me, right? Well, it couldn't, so we had to go with Plan B, which basically meant me and my friend couldn't do our deal. So for the first round draft pick, the Piedmont Triad Kickers, oh my gosh, can't get my words out, decided to pick up their mascot, the one, the only, Cinderace, and we're going to specifically be using Soul. So, my guy's a really strong physical wall breaker, fast physical wall breaker at that, 119 speed, 116 attack. And because of Libero, and the different moves he has, a lot of them being base 120 power or higher, he can really hit pretty hard. He also gets setup moves, so he can also function as a setup sweeper, but he can also play support because of like Court Change, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp. And then Homie's other ability is Blaze, which, depending on the the situation, could be useful because like I've played games where I've brought Blaze and like even the resisted Pokemon are getting two-shotted by Powerball, and even like things with Akaberry are actually getting one-shotted through their Akaberry. Now the drawback to Powerball, his signature move, is the fact that it's base 90 accuracy, but our Cinderace likes to hit his Powerballs, and we really appreciate that. And it also helps that Court changes, like he has 2 signature moves, so Court Change, so he uses guys a form of hazard removal as well, so if someone sets hazards on me, we can give them right back, politely. Or if someone wants to set screens on me, like we can take screens away. I found out you can also Court Change things like Tailwind and Leech Seed, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, Cinderace is here to, be that guy this season, to be that guy as per usual. Next on the team roster, well, I really wanted to get a Tera captain, preferably a strong one, before all the strong ones get gone because, we're allowing some really strong stuff this time around. So if you guys haven't noticed from my previous drafts, I tend to want to draft like a setup sweeper with like a nuke button. That way I don't have to like think too hard about what you're doing because, that's like 2 different roles, right? So for the next round, we decided to pick up our setup sweeper Tera captain, which is none other than Tera Mew, who, base 100 stats across the board, synchronized for the ability, pretty cool stuff, like, even though synchronized might not come into play that much, but, bro basically gets all the setup moves in the game except for Quiver Dance and Shell Smash for obvious reasons, and then on top of that, he doesn't have to be a setup sweeper, he can also you can pretty much be whatever you want it to be. It could be a support mon, a setup sweeper. You could run choice on it. You can run, like Bro, don't get me started. You can do a little bit of everything. So it's gonna be challenging every week trying to find the four moves I want for Mew. But the reason I drafted Mew is because I feel like what's gonna happen a lot. I'm gonna fill out the team like the way I plan to use Mew, right? I'm gonna fill out the team with the five Pokemon. With five Pokemon I want to bring. Like if I think Mew is good in the matchup, I'll fill out the first five first, right? And then I'll just look at the team, look at my opponent's team, ask myself what I'm missing, and then Mew more than likely can fill in that role because Mew is just that versatile. And it was either Tera Mew or Tera Jirachi, and I decided to deal with Mew because it's more versatile. So yeah, we're happy to have you, Mew. Next on the team roster, we decided, okay, we got our offensive minds. Let's start building our defense. In particular for Cinderace because he is the less bulky between him and Mew. So for the next round draft pick, we decided to pick up a bulky water type in the form of just a fish, a Lolamola, which is kind of funny because I drafted this thing because I felt like I would get sniped if I didn't draft it round 3, which was actually correct because 3 other people they wanted it in round 4, so I wouldn't have gotten it. Homie's ability is Regenerator, which is really good. This is like basically I've had a friend call this thing like the physical version of Blissey. However, this thing can actually pass wishes to people. And I want you guys to understand something. I tell my friends this all the time. My friends, I just mean Pokemaster 88. But I say this all the time. Whenever a Mola passes a wish, it's passing 260 HP worth of recovery to whatever the heck is receiving it. Which for a lot of Pokemon, unless you're like super low, you're probably back at full health. And then because of Regenerator, it can always get its HP back, and honestly, objectively the safest way possible. And then it can also hinder physical attackers with like Scald, hinder the special attackers with like Mirror Coat, because if you invest fully into its Spadef, sometimes a Mon would really have to like if you want to one-shot a Lolamola, you really have to boost up. So yeah, we're happy to have our Lolamola on the team, mainly here just to be a supportive bulky water type. Next on the team roster, as you guys know, I don't like Cinderace being my only form of hazard removal, and I wanted something that could pair well with the Lolamola defensively as well. So we decided for the next round we would pick up, for the first time in a long time, Big Business the Weezing. I call him Big Business because, well, actually no, it's a she. I think my shiny Weezing's a she. I call her Big Business because, well, anytime I've drafted Weezing, whenever I needed it to do, it got it done. The most consistent, one of them, arguably the most consistent Mon I've ever drafted. And granted, she only does with so many goddamn things, but that's the thing. She only does with so many things, but whatever you need her to do, she gets it done. And you cannot help but to appreciate that. She's here because she knows she's going to get her paycheck no matter what, because she always performs. This is like another defensive wall, 120 defense. Pretty good defensive typing too with Fairy and Poison, especially considering it levitates. So it doesn't have to worry about that ground weakness, but it also has a neutralizing gas, which could be conditionally good. Pairs well with a Lolamola because this is like a grass resist. Also pairs well with Mew because now I have a bug, like a U-turn. Well, I'm not even gonna say bug resist. Really, it's a bug resist, but I'm gonna say U-turn resist. A U-turn resist, a dark resist. So it pairs well defensively with the mons I already have. And then on top of that, because of defog on Weezing, Cinderace doesn't have to run court change all the goddamn time. Not to mention that Big Business can also help like set up certain mons, and I'm not going to go into too much details because I don't want to spoil the team, but you guys get the idea. But we're happy to have Big Business on the team, mainly here to be like a like a hazard remover slash bulky wall type Pokemon. And it pairs well with a Lolamola because this guy's only form of healing is Pain Split, but a Lolamola can just pass it wishes, and more than likely I'm gonna be back at full health, because there's a very big discrepancy between 65 HP and 165 HP. But yeah, you guys get the idea. Next on the team roster, so I wanted Ogerpon Cornerstone to be my grass type. However, it got sniped, and I refused. And the main reason I wanted Ogerpon is because of the base 110 speed tier, and I just refused to not get an Ogerpon because I lost out on Ogerpon Cornerstone, and I lost out on the Ogerpon Teal, so I decided, you know what? Let's redraft Pebbles. Ogerpon Wellspring, Grass water type, Water Absorb for the ability, so it pairs well with Cinderace defensively. Alola and Ogerpon do not share any weaknesses. This thing is mainly here just to be a fast wall breaker, as well as fill out my speed tier. So I got Cinderace, he's 119, but let's just call him my 120 mon. Pebbles is 110, Mew is 100. So I really like having those speed tiers. And like I said, it's a physical wall breaker, has pretty respectable bulk, all things considered. And then it also has it has ways to play support as well, slash utility options like in its move pool. So yeah, we're happy to have Ogerpon. Next on the team roster. So I had a really strong feeling if I didn't draft this Pokemon, it was not going to make it back to me. So for round 6, we decided to pick up our Dragon type in the form of Turbo the Gudra Hisui. So there's a guy who's like after me, who this is kind of like his mascot. He doesn't always draft it, but I didn't know if he wanted it or not, and I wasn't gonna ask him, so I said, okay, let's just draft it. This thing pairs well with Weezing and Alola because anything Weezing is weak to, this thing it resists. Alola is weak to grass. This thing has Sap Sipper. Alola can pass wishes to this thing, which cannot heal that reliably. However, once again, 80 HP, 165 HP. Pretty nice discrepancy. We can pass a lot of HP to this thing, and then Gudra can also be like a function as a special tank, which allows Alola and Weezing to be more so physical. I don't have to like do awkward matchups where I'm running them like super sped F all the time. You get what I'm saying? And then on top of that, Gudra is not like a passive tank by any means. It has good offenses, and it also has pretty good physical defense as well, base 100. So all around, this thing is just like a tank that can hit well too. Now, is it going to be one-shotting stuff? If it's not hitting you super effectively, probably not. But it's still going to be able to do good, like, chunks of damage to stuff. But yeah, Gudra's here to, basically to be part of my defensive core. And I feel like these 3 Pokemon, Alola, Weezing, and Gudra, they'll be pretty tough to break. So we'll see. Next on the team roster. Oh, and also I like Gooey because I like making stuff slow. Next on the team roster, speaking of making stuff slow, I decided to draft something fast because I have like these slow special attackers, so I wanted a fast one. So round 7, we decided to pick up Enel the Raikou. If you watch One Piece, you know who Enel is, bro. But anyway, he's mainly just here to be a fast special attacker, also a fast special wall breaker because he, 115 special attack is respectable, especially considering electric is usually spammable. Because he also learns Scald, so you can't just switch your ground types into him all willy-nilly, especially if they're physical attackers. And then he does get Calm Mind for setting up, gets Volt Switch for pivoting, gets Screens for support. So Raikou can do a bunch of different things, and it has enough coverage that even though these moves aren't that strong, you also can't call Raikou wallable necessarily because you might not always have a mon that can switch to all of its moves. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, that's Raikou, mainly here to be a fast special attacker for the team. Next on the team roster. So, you know what, guys? So here's the thing, right? I like to have defog, I like to have my court change, but we also need our rapid spin, so we're not just locked into just those 2 forms of hazard removal, because what if I'm fighting an Annihilate one week or fighting a freaking Empoleon? Well, Annihilate blocks everything, but Empoleon, for example, or freaking Ogerpon, Teal, you guys get the idea. So for the next round, we decided to pick up our Rapid Spinner, who also still pairs kind of well defensively with some of the mons I have in the form of White Goodman, the Hitmontop. So he has Intimidate, which pairs really well with like the Gudra because I intimidate stuff. Well, you guys get the idea. First of all, if something's intimidated, you're definitely not breaking through Alola and Weezing. But he can also use Technician for like, added damage to his moves, which could be pretty good. Hitmontop also adds to my special bulk with 110 speed F, and it's also a pretty respectable physical attacker with 95 attack. So are we one-shotting stuff most of the time? No, but are we doing like decent chunk, especially with Technician? Yes. And 95 defense is pretty decent too. But this guy's mainly here to be a rapid spinner. He also gets, if I didn't mention, he also gets pivoting with Baton Pass, and he gets priority with like Mach Punch, Bullet Punch. So this guy can, fill a few roles and give us a few things that we didn't already have. Well, let me phrase that. We've had some of these things, but we needed more of them. Get what I'm saying? So yeah, that is White Goodman. Next on the team roster, I decided it was time to pick up my next Tera captain. So for the first time ever, I decided I was going to pick up Porygon Z, also known as the Great Emu. If you watch One Piece, you know who the Great Emu is. And before someone tries to say, well, Great Emu has red eyes, so since this guy has yellow eyes, you should name him Hawkeye Mihawk. First of all, Hawkeye Mihawk is a swordsman, and does Porygon look like a swordsman to you? No. But Emu? Well, I don't want to spoil my anime onlys, but just know the name fits. So he has download and adaptability, which basically for this thing's like basically they both complement his 135 special attack because download gives me a boost. So basically this kind of forces people to run like a lot of Spadef on their mons. Otherwise I get a Spadef Otherwise, I'm gonna get a special attack boost on switching, which actually helps Cinderace and Ogerpon a lot. And then if you don't run this freaking Spadef boost, Spadef investment, okay, this guy comes in, gets a boost, and probably nukes you, especially considering he does get Nasty Plot. And the last one of the team is really going to help this guy out a lot because of that middling base 90 speed. But just know Porygon is mainly just here to be a nuke. Next on the team roster, well, we needed a ghost type and we needed a ground type. It was either Palisand or this guy. Everyone told me I should try this guy, so I'm gonna try this guy. And if it doesn't work out, I'm gonna blame the BHDL community. So for the 10th round, we decided to pick up none other than Golurk. Golurk does not have a nickname yet because I don't know what to name him yet. Um, I really don't know what to say about Golurk because I've never used a Golurk, so I don't really know what it does. I just know it has no guard, so it can't miss its moves. At a glance, looking at the stats, it looks like it has like decent bulk. Like it's probably only gonna take like one or two like neutral hits at most, but decent bulk, 124 attack. So between Ghost and Ground, I feel like that's pretty good offensive typing. So I'm pretty sure this thing is going to be really good offensively. Like I said, I don't know what to expect from it, so we just have to wait and see. Next on the team roster is the last mon of the team. I decided, okay, we needed a dark type, but I only had 4 points left, and I wasn't about to spend 4 points on a boo boo Pokemon. And I've always agreed with the sentiment that instead of just drafting to draft, like draft something with a purpose. So for the purpose of helping the team, I decided I was going to draft the Mosquito Masquerain. I call him the Mosquito because one, I want it to sound like a wrestler's name. Two, I have a friend who always calls things the Mosquito whenever he sees me use it in battle. Pretty cool mon. Intimidate for the ability, so even though it has 62 defense, it kind of can take those physical hits. And then it has Quiver Dance, which can help out with its Spadef, the speed, and then it already has 100 special attack, which is decent. And Flying is actually a lot more spammable offensively than you would think. Now, granted, this mon does not take hits that well. Like for example, rock hits, yeah, you're just dead. But Masquerade's mainly just here to get sticky webs up, and which can help Porygon Z because if Porygon Z is outspeeding stuff, bro, he's just nuking through teams. And then if not, that means I'm probably forcing not webs with boots on stuff, which means you're not running offensive items, or leftovers, which I would really appreciate. But yeah, guys, that is the team. I think I said everything I needed to be said. So without further ado, just had to get the picture of the sleeping Mew because everyone's sleeping on Mew. Some people have their opinions on Mew, and you're always entitled to your opinions. I know some people are probably thinking, so you're not gonna make any transactions after the power rankings. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, in my personal opinions, power rankings are fun. They're not the end all be all. Just because someone has their opinion of your team, that does not mean your team is what they say it is, because you always have the power to prove them wrong. For example, just the most recent example, Josh League made it to the finals. My team was ranked towards the bottom of the league. In PBA, my team was literally ranked dead last, and we still made it to the semifinals. So, guys, it's about what you make out of the situation. But think about it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't done so already, please remember to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace out.